And hi, Tinker teachers, and welcome to Getting Started with Tinker. And welcome back to school for 2026. I'm Daniel Rizak, and I'm very excited to have you all join us for the next 45 minutes in this amazing free Tinker PD series. We have educators from all over joining us today. I see Natalie from Alabama and Wilkinson from New York. And we had a Kristen and Shelley and Edwin. And so welcome all. Get to know each other in the chat. Say hello and get to be part of this amazing Tinker community. We are just, I'm just, again, so excited to welcome everybody kind of to the start of the school year here, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Keep in mind that educators are joining us from all different levels of Tinker. So some are brand new to Tinker, some are pros, and for some of you, what you're going to see today might be familiar, but to some others it will be brand new. So be patient because there's some cool announcements coming up and you're all going to want to hear kind of what those are. And we've got some announcements about some of the new content and the additional content. And so that's going to be very exciting. And of course, we're giving away a Tinker t-shirt. So you got to have a Tinker t-shirt. And this is one of my favorites, the I Teach Kids to Code shirt. So we're excited. Just stay to the end. We'll do a little drawing. It'll be great. One of you will be a lucky winner. So let's get started. All right. So today's agenda. We're going to just do a little brief kind of what is Tinker for some of you who are new to Tinker and just, maybe you want to get updated a little bit, get a little refresher. We're going to show you how to log in and create a class, add your students, get your free courses. There's some free courses there that you're going to want to know how to get access to. And then we're going to walk you through some of the amazing Tinker curriculum highlights. There's like three amazing pieces of the Tinker curriculum I want you to see from pre-K all the way to more of the advanced stuff. So and then I'm going to break down some things that are happening in the Tinker Workshop. So we'll show you how kids are creating in the Tinker Workshop, and then we'll show you some amazing Tinker tools that you all have access to. So let's get started. So what is Tinker? Tinker is the complete path to CS and AI mastery. So I've been, teaching with Tinker, wow, since like it's been 9+ years at this point. Like I started back in 2016, I think. And the reason I jumped onto Tinker so, strongly is because I found that it was one of the programs out there that was just the easiest for me to use, not just with students, but for other teachers in my school to use with students. That was kind of key. I wanted this to be something that would be outside of just the STEM lab type of thing. And it was great for that. And it still very much is. Another big piece of that is the STEM courses, this core curriculum integration, which I really love. And if you want to code in math class or English class or science class, like we have this great library for you to be able to do that. There is just this comprehensive curriculum. You've got pre-K all the way into high school. You've got so many hours, thousands of hours of content. And then the block to text coding, we start in icon based, go to block coding and text coding and advanced coding as well. So there's just so much there. So there's this complete path, and then just lots of great tools, automatic assessment, classroom management, and tons of great professional development. So we've got you covered. It comes directly out of the box. It just works and it's all ready for you. So Tinker empowers kids to be makers. That's really the goal of Tinker. And you can apply Tinker in many different ways. So you've got once students know how to do a little bit of Tinker, they can start using with robotics and microbits and makeys, and they can do it with, augmented reality and artificial intelligence. We have these great, like I said, STEM and project-based learning courses and tutorials. There's just hundreds of these. So tons of opportunity for students to apply their skill. And then great new AI courses. There's AI implementation. Tinker, I think, was one of the first to really jump out in front when it came to AI literacy. And I love that from, basically third grade on, you've got options to teach your students, the ethics and use of artificial intelligence. So that's great. And then, of course, all these great icon and block text coding courses, just so much there. And of course, tons more now that we are, of course, together with CodeHS. There's just so many great things. So, over the last, 10 plus years, we've connected with so many students all around the world, hundreds of millions of students. I mean, I've taught students in Sri Lanka and Australia and Malaysia, all over the world, and it's just been great to see students everywhere taking part in the great things that Tinker has to offer. So, um, districts all over the country, United States, are using Tinker, and all over the world, some of the biggest districts like Australia, New South Wales, it loves Tinker. So 8 billion lines of code. I mean, we keep track of this stuff. So many students have created so many projects and lines of code in Tinker. So Tinker really has this kind of progression, right? You start with pre-reader with this great Tinker Junior app, and that's all icon based and voice based, right? There's no text in there. It's all voice enabled, tappable. They move from there to block based, and then the transition is really, really smooth. It's designed to kind of start them in that Tinker environment and feel familiar. So when they get into the block environment, it feels familiar, like this is Tinker. And then the same thing for the middle school. And a lot of this is game-based game development. So they're building games, they're using games to practice and build their skill. And then we have this great, obviously great content with CodeHS. They can move into high school and just have, hundreds and hundreds of hours of great content there. So the complete path to mastery. So beyond this, 1,000 hours, we kind of break this down with great block coding courses. We've been part of the Hour of Code challenges. We have just hundreds of these Hour of Code challenges. We partnered with NASA for that. Back in the day, we got these great NASA projects. And then, all these DIY projects that are just, whether they're physics based or animation based, or if you've got an idea and you've done a little bit of animation in Tinker, you can go in and find a project that is, for your skill. And then, of course, again, these great STEM integration courses for middle and elementary, and then these electives as well, where there's just so many opportunities to grow. So let's start by breaking open Tinker and setting up a class. So I'm going to start by doing that. I'm going to open Tinker here, and we're going to show you how to add a classroom, add your students in your usernames, select a grade level. We're going to create some Tinker accounts, and then I'll show you where those free courses are so you can start adding your free courses. So this is my Tinker dashboard. So I've logged in, and when you log into Tinker, you're going to see like your classes, and then some resources here down at the bottom. But or you'll just see like create a class if you've never done it before. So I'm going to go ahead and add a classroom, and I have previously connected Google Classroom. So if you log in with Google, it will ask you, to connect Google Classroom if that's what you want to do. But we also connect Clever and ClassLink and these other single sign-on options. But if you're a free teacher, you can implement Google Classroom really easily. But today, I'm going to just add my own. I'm going to show you how we do that. So I guess I call myself science teacher, but I'm going to go ahead and just call this CS 101 AAA, I think. But let's pick a grade level. This is determinative. This may determine what kind of free courses that are served to you. So I'm going to start with elementary because I want to get that elementary free course. And I'm going to go ahead and start that. And there's a couple ways we can get students in here. Now, if they already have a Tinker account, you can share the class code with them and have them go to tinker.com/classcode, and then they can just put that right in there. If they don't have accounts and you want to create those for them, I'll show you a nice fun way to do that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to add 10, and there's one way I can do this where I just generate 10 random accounts, call them student, username science. I can create a prefix here where I like to use like my school mascot and maybe regenerate those. And then it'll give me these usernames. And then I can finalize those with one click. So it's real quick, real easy. But if you want to create your own and paste in, a lot of you might have your own usernames and passwords that you use for, for many different types of accounts. I'm going to go ahead and just copy my students and come on over here and I can just paste them right in there and then finalize those and create my student usernames. So it's real simple. If you just have a spreadsheet you want to use. And then I've got the option here of now adding and exploring my curriculum. So I can go ahead and start adding a lesson as well. But I'm going to go ahead and explore that curriculum. But was there one other thing I wanted to show you about that? But I'm going to go here to my students. So one other little thing I wanted to just show you when I go to my students after I've embedded them or created them is that we do have something called the Smart Pass. So if you wanted to download these, give these cards to your students, they could then log in using the camera in front of their computer, or if they're using a tablet as well. So let's pause there for just a moment. And we've added classrooms, we've added students, we've selected grade level, we've created those Tynker accounts. And now you have these great free course options. So if you're K-5, you've got P100. This is going to teach kids how to use like the Tynker Workshop. And the middle school free course is going to get a little bit into text coding. So you get a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of Python. You've got that Barbie course. That's always very popular. And then there's an advanced kind of 8+ course that I know a lot of the high schools and the advanced middle schoolers like to use. And by the way, if you are active in our chat, you will be part of our t-shirt drawing. I'm not going to forget that. But feel free to ask us questions along the way. No problem. We've got a team, a great bunch of people who'd love to answer your questions. So let's go ahead and find my free courses. I'm going to go ahead and go to my curriculum here on the left. And I do have the option of adding good old Programming 100. And let's just crack that open so I can see what's in P100. And this is generally the true for most courses here in Tynker. You're going to get a nice overview. You've got a breakdown of every lesson plan. You've got presentations. You've got slide decks for these lessons, so you can do some, direct instruction and stand in front of the class, and if that's what you want to do. But it's a nice balance. These are the blocks students are going to see when they do these lessons, and then you've got the student view, which kind of shows what students will see, kind of the breakdown of the path students will take. Now, theirs is going to be very linear. They have to start here in the intro and kind of work their way up the ladder because it's scaffolded. And then your standards and your answer keys, which you're going to really want to have if you are getting into some of this complicated stuff. But Natalie asked generic usernames. Yes, you can use a generic username and you can keep it year after year. And so you'll see here, at least in P100, you've got puzzle-based work here in the beginning, like Candy Quest, and then you'll start getting introduced to some projects in the Tynker Workshop. So all of our lesson plans you'll see are just illustrious, right? They start with some objectives, vocabulary. I used to teach science, so I know I always had to introduce my students to vocabulary, the blocks that students are going to see, and then all these activities broken down one by one. So they're very well done. Offline activities are in there as well. And so your students are gonna love that. So P101, yeah, you get a really nice, and by the way, I would use P101 if you use even if you just want to get students like accustomed to using Tynker for the first time. That's where, I'm sorry, P100 becomes really helpful, because in these lesson plans, they're practicing using, they get a little intro lesson, but they're practicing the puzzle environment, and then they get into the project environment and they start doing some really great storytelling projects and stuff there. So it's a great course for them to start with if they've never used Tynker, and especially if you have other content you want them to do, like P101 or 102, start them there. Then you've got P300. You've got this great course as well, which starts to get into your, a little bit of Python, a little bit of JavaScript, some maybe a little bit more. There's like an advanced math project here and the STEM project, which is really good. So, um, so definitely, again, if you're in the middle school and you have like the middle school license, you want students to just kind of do something fun in the beginning before they start the core curriculum, you should start them on P100 or P300. But that is a little bit of the free coursework. But let's go ahead and just, overview here. So Tynker does so much of the work for you, right? We've given you lesson plans. We've got given you the slide decks. The teacher dashboard is actionable, so you can assign coursework directly from the dash, manage students, assign project. You've got all your lessons. There's certificates and class awards that start to build up there. So it really does give you this kind of actionable dashboard to monitor progress and see what what's doing in your class. The curriculum itself, we're going to kind of dive into that next. It's just there's so much in the curriculum that I haven't even put it all in on this one page, right? This is only, maybe a third of what we're offering. We've got some new announcements of curriculum that's coming to K-8, but there's all the AI courses that are not there yet. There's data science, there's, intro to art and programming, that's not there, but there's just so much for you to engage with and for your students to build with. But let's go ahead and dive into the coursework a little bit. Let's take a look at Tynker Junior. I want to show you like three cool things that I think everyone should know about Tynker, and that is Tynker Junior. And then I want to show you a little bit of P101, which is where we start to use the Tynker Workshop. And then there's a cool game design piece in P202, which you should all kind of, I think, be aware of. But good questions coming in the chat here from Natalie. Good job. Thank you. You're going to be, that's really like these questions. So keep them coming. All right. So the coursework. Let's take a look at the coursework. Let's go back here. I can go to my class. I did just create this class, but I haven't assigned anything yet. So I could go ahead and assign something. And then I have this great, I've got the K-8 plan here, but I've got all this great content to choose from. I've got the Tynker Junior, which is available on tablets, right? So I'm going to assign it from here, but the content is available on iPad or the Google Play Store on Android. So again, I've got this great description, all this great lesson plans. Everything's broken down here in the teacher dashboard so that you can see what you are going to do. And then you can then go ahead and dive into one of those and you can assign those and run those lessons. But every one of these in the teacher dashboard has a run button so you can kind of take a look at the student view and the presentation and the answer keys here. And you can break things down really nicely if you want to intro this stuff to your students. Again, these lessons have great, offline warm-ups and things like that. But just to kind of break open Tynker Junior, let me show you a little bit about kind of what Tynker Junior looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and show you, this is, there's like 10 experiences here in Tynker Junior. And there is audio, though I've brought the audio down a bunch, but I'm gonna go back. This is one of the first courses. And again, it's kind of linear. Kids are gonna start in the beginning and kind of move their way up the ladder.
Try it on
But it
your own.
starts just with basic
Right
pattern recognition. So great logic and reasoning skills happening right here that we're doing all without text. We're just doing with audio and visual. And then we move in, we start to introduce students to kind of what things are going to look like in the block environment. So you kind of see the play button. They start to put their blocks here and they're running their program and getting their little fish to go where they want it to go. Yeah. So that is just a little snippet of Tinker Junior, but it just gets even more challenging and more fun. And when you realize you're doing this with pre-readers, watching them, uh, move through and build skill and build resistance, and persistence, I should say. It's really, really a lot of fun to see in those in the little ones. But let me go ahead and go into, so that's a little bit of the K2 stuff. Let me go ahead and show you one of my favorite courses here, which is P101. Oh, and I should say, by the way, when you sort through like K2 here, these are basically all puzzle-based courses. So sometimes you'll see me refer to the puzzle-based courses versus the project-based courses. In the K2, you're seeing more puzzle-based skill and practice courses as they're building their skill. And then we move them into project-based, which is where they're going to start using the Tynker Workshop. And so I'm going to go ahead and open up P101. And again, to see some of these great lesson plans here. And let's go ahead and choose my favorite lesson, which is the Tynker Workshop. And again, we've got, it's about an hour, about a class period. It can take a little more depending on how creative your students are sometimes, but it's designed to be all of these lessons in the P101s, the 102s, 201s are designed to be about a class period. The courses are designed to be about a semester. So you can see that they're really built for that. And then broken down just really beautifully here. Again, maybe a discussion for a warm up, something offline, and then some great summary activities here in the end. But let's go ahead and run that lesson. And then again, I'm given my student view here. I've got my answer keys, which as an educator, I've always got my answer keys quick nearby in my sheet as students are working through the coursework. And then I've got my presentation. So if I want to do the, start off with some direct instruction and let students know what their objectives are and their goals and what blocks they're going to be introduced to in these lessons, they've got all of that right there. And we're going to break down the vocabulary for them. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to my student view here. And again, as the educator, you can jump around. You've got freedom to jump around. Students have to kind of start from the beginning and work their way up. And so let's go ahead and open one of these. And they're kind of given here in this an example of a project that they're going to have to create, one of their first projects. And then they're introduced to the Tynker Workshop. And this is the Tynker Workshop where they're going to see a tutorial here on the left. And there's going to be like a little embedded model of a final project. And then and then they're going to stop and start building that project. So then they go ahead and click next, and then they start bringing their blocks directly into the coding environment right there. And then they can click through and practice and their code. They can drag their code back into the trash. And I've done this a couple times, so I've got a little bit of practice. But now we can look at our instructions, hit next, and then test that code. Right. All right. All right. So if you're done, it'll move you on to the next lesson. And again, it's all linear, so students are going to keep moving on and building their projects as they go ahead. But this has the Tynker Workshop. I mean, the Tynker Workshop has so many great things, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. But that is P101. And to just kind of, I will say no and exit. Students will start here and they'll kind of move up, but most lessons here in Tynker are going to end with a final project and then a quiz. So you've got some formative and summative assessment here in the end. Quiz kind of captures the basics that hopefully they got when they did all of this, and that will go directly into their grade book. So it's really well done and kind of automatic, and we love that. But the last piece I wanted to show you here is this one, which is part of P202, which is kind of a late fifth grade, sixth grade course where students are really going to be digging into the game development, game design part of Tinker. So you've got these lesson plans where you can see they're building a lot of game element stuff, and a lot of the final projects that they have to make are going to be like, making sure that the spaceship goes into the right spot or something like that. But that isn't the lesson that I want to do. But let me go ahead and skip ahead. What I want to do show is the lesson that I want to show. Let me go back here, which is, here we go. So now we're getting into like game effects and rules, programming 202. So it's really getting deep into this kind of game element stuff. But I want to show you, sorry, I'll just go back. The physics engine part of Tinker, which is really a great aspect, but kind of instrumental when students are learning how to use and how to do game development. Here we go. My plan. All right, I'm back. 202. We're going to lesson plans, and we're going to the physics engine. There we go. All right, so now we're going to be introduced into the physics engine, which is this great aspect of Tinker. They're going to be starting to use the physics blocks and basically manipulating gravity inside the Tinker Workshop. And again, great lesson plans all here that are ready for you. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the student view and kind of show what we're going to be doing here in the physics engine. And no. There we go. What we do see often in our lessons is there's going to be like characters that come out and they're going to kind of do a little bit of exposition, right? They're going to teach students and kind of let them know about the different blocks. And it's fun. Here we have this little alien guy on Mars, and we're going to practice gravity in here. And so here's where they get to learn kind of how the Tinker blocks work. And we're basically integrating science directly into project creation here, which is what I love. And as they go into this, they're going to learn basically how to control these characters on the X and Y axis. And even better, what I love is that they're learning geometry, before they even have taken a geometry class. It's going to be practical to them. So let's see if we set gravity to 0 by 10, they're just going to be on the ground. But if we do it negative, oh, there we go. There we go. I think I clicked back. Let me let me do my gravity blocks. Sorry, I hit the back button. My fault. So we're going to do negative, and then we're going to do the that. We're going to go to the right, and then we're going to go to the left. And once we've clicked on all of these, you know, it will then kind of take us to the next part of the lesson where now we're going to go ahead and actually build a project. And in this project, we're basically, I'm just going to show you a little brief example of this Tinker project where we're using the physics blocks to, again, we get this great example here where we're going to do something looks a little bit like an Angry Birds element. And step by step, we're going to start the physics engine and then start pointing um, our platform in the right direction. We can test that code and you kind of see how that works. And these are basically we're holding their hand a little bit in the beginning, but at the end they're building kind of these illustrious games, and it's just a lot of fun. And you can see how that goes. But this is P202, again, one of my favorite courses, and I wanted to make sure that you all had a chance to see that. But a couple of cool course announcements. So Tinker Junior, I wanted to make sure everyone is aware. We are basically making this available if you on Android now, so you can get it through on your Chromebook if you have the Google Play Store. So I want to make sure everyone's aware that you can get Tinker Junior now on your Chromebook if you are able to put your your stuff. I know some schools don't have access to the Play Store, but this is a great option, a great aspect of most schools are using Chromebooks at this point. So you can download the Tinker Junior app. I think you've already put it in the chat, so if it's in the chat, you can do it there. It's just tons of fun. Your students are going to love it, and a great way to start teaching logic and reasoning to pre-K. And then this great announcement too, which is that these three courses are some of our best courses. So you have an Intro to Art and Programming, Data Science, and Java 101. Those are now part of the K-8 and middle school curriculum. So again, that link is here. You can preview those courses, take a look at what they're like. But the data science course is super, super fun. It's really like, you're having fun like coding and spreadsheets and stuff like that, but it's a lot of fun. And then the Intro to Art and Programming, students are using code to build and create with art. And that I think is a great marriage of, of CS and getting students to use it to really create, like logos and branding and Picasso style art and stuff like that. So that's a great course. So, but next, I want to make sure we dig into the Tinker Workshop a little bit. I want to show you a couple of fun little tools and things in the Tinker Workshop. And then we are going to add actors, kind of take a look at what some of the plugins are in the Tinker Workshop. And then there's some AI integration in there that you should be very aware of. And then there's some even cooler tools there. So let's take a look at the projects area. So if you look here, I'm going to close. No, I'm not leaving. I'm just leaving that. Um, but I'm going to go here to my projects area in my Tinker dashboard, my teacher dashboard. And now I've got, uh, I can create a new project. I can look at my old projects. I've got this option. Students have this option too. They can create, they have a projects tab where they're going to create new projects and they're going to have access to this nice option here. There's all these folders where they can go and then explore and try new things. And I mean, there are just so many great options. They can create little games and platform games and top-down style games, and they can create art and music. We've got this great kind of song and music generator within Tinker, storytelling, all these great options. So don't let this part of Tinker, go away from your students. Once they've done a course, you then have them go here and totally dig in and make more. But they can even explore some of the JavaScript, and there's some cool widgets and things that they can build. And then, so that's a great place for them. But I'm going to go ahead and just crack open a blank workspace because sometimes we just want to start from scratch and we want to just see, what we can build when we start with just a blank canvas. And there are other options, little starter projects here, but I'm going to go ahead and start with a blank project. And this is basically a blank Tinker Workshop. There's nothing, in here. There's like one little guy kind of get you started. I'm going to make those blocks nice and big. And then over on the left here, you have your block library and all your controls and operators and variables and events are here. You can search them up really easily. And you can, over here is what we call the stage. And we do this, we're very theatrical here at Tinker. We've got the stage, we've got actors. And so, the way that we've kind of put this all together is a lot of fun, I think. But typically, when you start building a project, you might edit the stage first. So you might go here and add a background. And then this is where Tinker gets even better because we just have all of this great media to choose from. And, talk about storytelling. You can put your characters in all of these great different environments. And so I'm just adding a couple backgrounds here to kind of tell maybe like a three-act story. And then, so I've got these three different options here that I can choose from. And then I've got what are called actors, all these little guys, and a lot of great ways to add actors. So I can add actors with the drawing tool, the character builder. I can upload an actor. I can add a text actor. I can do a lot of this. The drawing tool is probably the student's favorite, as it's just so easy to just create with the drawing tool. I'll create a little stick figure man right there. It is just, it's really well done. And we're going to make him a green man. And there you go. Oh, I just lost my eyes. Oh, well. Um, there you go. Blue eyes. All right. So I'm going to save that and go back. And you can just see just how I'm using this. It's just so smooth and approachable and accessible to students where they can start now adding code to their actors and start building. But there is a piece of this that I want to make sure that you're aware of, and it's down here in the left, and it's right here. And it is something we call plugins. So in this, we've got all of these great other blocks that are available, like the physics blocks are pretty much usually there, but you've got synth blocks. You can add sound and create sounds, augmented reality. You've got AI blocks here. So if I wanted to do something with pose detection or create something that was kind of triggered by my hands or my face, I could add that. If I wanted to build like a little language model, I could do that as well. And so with those blocks, so there is integration in there. And I'll show you just as a real quick before we're done here, um, some of the additional kind of starter projects that are in here. I know we're getting close to time, but well, I will go back and show you some great things here. So I'm going to go back and just show you that's kind of a blank project with some of the great things that you can do in the Tynker Workshop. But there is some AI projects in here that kind of start ready to go. So one of we have 3 or 4 different like AI integrations into the Tynker Workshop, and one is like face detection, right? So if I like wink my eye, I can basically like create a block trigger for something to happen. There's hand detection too. So same thing. Like if I, want to do like, pinch my fingers together, I can program a trigger to happen when we do that. So that's another one. I can do the same thing. I like to encourage physical ed teachers to use the body detection so that they can create projects where students are like moving around. So there's a lot of great integration there. And then we have like the object recognition and the text classification, which is where like if students wanted to program their own like little mini language model, the text classification. And that's really good. So like one example here would be like the sock puppet project. You just open your hand, you close it, and you can tell little stories there. And but there's a lot to be discovered here in these. And so we do have 2 courses, that dig into these tools that you really should be aware of. And that is I'm going to refresh this because it really wants to open my camera. So I'm going to but in the curriculum, right? And I want to say we were way ahead of the ball here, but there's 2 courses for elementary and for kind of advanced. But you've got AI 101, so it's going to use a lot of those features. And again, we're teaching students a little bit about ethics and stuff in there as well, and they're creating little activity games. And then a text coding course that's more advanced. It uses JavaScript and P5JS. So it's uh, using more like language detection and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. So you want to check that out. So um, all right, my friends, we're getting close to the end, but there's one little piece here you should know of, at least in the Tynker Workshop, and that's one that I always want to encourage you to dig in and test and try. But you can go ahead and create a blank workspace or a project. But when you do that, you should be aware that you also can create your own tutorials. I think this is something that, just like we do with our tutorials, you can create a tutorial with a blank project. And I'll just put that in so you can kind of see what that looks like. And then you're creating step-by-step instructions for your students, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So you should know that's there because it's really awesome. And then you can also record audio if you want to do audio recording of your step-by-step instructions. And this could be its own session, so I'm not going to go too far with that, but you should know that that's there because it's really cool. And then um, there's a couple other little things that I'm kind of wanted to make sure you saw before we went, but before we were done today. But um, there are just some great tools. And if you go into your classroom, once your classroom is totally, completely created, you'll see this kind of actionable dashboard here where you can see latest class activity. You can create a project showcase right here. You can kind of view your concepts mastery where students are with beginner, intermediate, and advanced. There's certificates that students can print out, and then they can see all their class awards as well. The showcase is probably one of my favorites. I think it needs to get used more because I think sometimes teachers don't realize it's there. But you can create a public or a private showcase and then put all the projects you want in there and then share that with parents. That's one I use all the time. I, in fact, put it in my email signature so that my parents never could escape my showcase. But just to kind of overview, I want to make sure that you know where some of these great tools are. The AI course stuff is just really really well done. And then we really focus on teaching coding and AI as a literacy. Like we really ingrain it into the everyday content. Great things. Teachers love Tinker. Go on social media. You'll see lots of great things of what folks are saying about Tinker, and just great to to see that excitement. But I do want to make sure that before we leave, you get this survey. So if you could just, it takes like 2 seconds. I think we put it in the chat for you. If you could just give us a little feedback on, what you thought about and what you think about these webinars. We're going to add more, and we're going to make sure that you can know all the amazing things you can do with Tinker. Um, and uh, so that's in the link. I'm going to move to the next slide. Just if you have any questions about Tinker, if you want to get a quote, you can go to that link, codehs.com/Tinker quote. That's one way to do it. You can get support, go to schools@tinker.com. Take a look at more PD, go to codehs.com/Tinker Live PD. If you're watching in a recording, just pause. That's one way to do it. But there's a lot of great content out there. But t-shirt. Do we have a t-shirt? Does anyone want a t-shirt?
Looks like
Um,
Natalie's the winner.
Natalie, you are our winner. We will make sure we have your email address, and we will send you details on how to get your amazing Tinker t-shirt. All right. So, congratulations, Natalie, on getting your Tinker t-shirt. All right, my friends. That is about, yes, let's make sure we get Natalie's email. Um, but that's going to about do it for us today on getting started with Tinker. Thanks so much for joining. We love our Tinker teachers, and we're excited about what this new school year will bring. But have fun and keep coding, everybody. All right. Thanks, Natalie. Take care.